We are in Poland's capital, Warsaw, on the occasion of the informal meeting of EU ministers for cohesion policy, territorial cohesion and urban matters. The cohesion policy, which is the top of the agenda, is simply leaving no one behind. I am joined by Professor Andrés Rodríguez-Pose from the London School of Economics, a professor of economic geography. Professor, divergence or convergence?
Well, what we are having is convergence across the whole of Europe. Countries, especially in Central and Eastern Europe, have caught up significantly with the rest of Europe. Having said that, what we are finding is that within most of our countries, there's a significant process of divergence with concentration of economic activity in the most dynamic cities, fundamentally the capitals.
So when we look at this cohesion policy, it is also, its aim is also to boost resilience. So how does it really work? Can we expect from the cohesion policy to help us with the migration challenges, with the climate challenges, and as well with the rise of populism and nationalism Europe-wide?
Well, Europe is in crisis. There is a disaffection of Europeans, a growing discontent that is reflected in a rise of Eurosceptic vote. There's 1/3 of the vote in national elections right now that goes across the whole of Europe to Eurosceptic parties. Cohesion is the glue that binds all Europeans together. And we need to have a strong cohesion policy to mobilize the potential wherever it is can be found across Europe, and also as a way to achieve the other objectives. If we want to absorb migration, if we want to have a green transition, if we want to have a more competitive and more secure Europe, we need to make sure that it benefits whatever we do, all Europeans, wherever they live. And cohesion is the most democratic policy in the European Union and the one that will ensure that no one is left behind.
When we are looking at populism and nationalism in Europe, can we say that this is, as you refer to it, the revenge of the regions that don't matter?
Yes, in many ways it is. We're seeing that there are many causes of the rises of Euroscepticism, of the rises of extreme voting and populism, but perhaps the most important is long-term economic decline. Places that have fallen through the policy cracks, that are not poor enough to actually be supported by European cohesion policy, but not rich and dynamic enough to be at the heart of national policies, are not benefiting from this and are expressing their discontent, their lack of future through the ballot box.
Can we still say that Europe can be competitive outside when we just pump money into regions that are underserved? Or should we maybe the European Union focus more on the regions that are the most developed instead?
Well, if we focus on the regions that are the most developed, we have a series of problems. We need dynamic and developed regions in Europe. But by betting on the most dynamic regions, there's no guarantee that these are the ones that are going to grow in the future. Hopefully many of them will, but it might not be the case. The problem is that there's a lot of potential. 2/3 of European growth come not from the most dynamic regions or from the capital, it comes from the rest. Can we afford to overlook the rest? So we need to also invest in those intermediate cities, smaller cities, towns and rural areas that have got enormous potential but that has been overlooked. And let us not forget that many of the biggest innovations in recent times that have affected Europe have come not from the most dynamic places but from areas that were disregarded but had significant innovative capacity and have been at the forefront of transformation.
And last but not least, I wanted to ask you about the future of the cohesion policy, because this future is being decided at this very moment. And I wanted to ask you whether the other challenges, such as the challenges related to the common agricultural policy and the challenges related to the increased defense spending, will they dent the spending for the cohesion policy?
Okay, what we have now is the first pitch by the European Commission on the budget post-2027. The proposal is one of a radical change, transforming all funding that we have now, all policies, into two main areas of intervention. One would be a competitiveness fund that would be managed directly by the European Union. The second one would be national funds that would be managed by the national level, and then it would permeate. This implies a significant risk for cohesion policy, but in my view, that would be a massive mistake by the European Union. First, because in a moment in which we have a democratic deficit, the idea that everything can be decided from Brussels or from national capitals is going to encounter significant resistance by European citizens. Let us not forget that cohesion is the most democratic policy we have in the European Union, one that involves all and actually involves local, regional stakeholders in the economic realm, in the political realm, in the cultural and social realm. And by bringing those together, we're giving voice to people. Second, if we put, again, our emphasis on doing things top-down, what we will be overlooking significant potential by the European Union. The vaccine, which is one of the biggest innovations against COVID, which was one of the biggest innovations, came not from Paris or from the south of Germany. It came from a middle-ranking university in a company that was created by migrants, so the University of Mainz and BioNTech, and that led to making sure that many of us did survive the COVID pandemic without the risk of being caught in what was a deadly disease at that time.
Thank you, Professor. Poland has been a huge beneficiary of the Cohesion Fund, and it is trying to use its current presidency of the European Union to keep it up, to maintain it at the same level in the next budgets. For TVP World from Warsaw, I'm Piotr Miszczuk.